Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, we're going to cover off where blue sits on the color wheel and how to shift it. Now, although this lesson seems pretty easy, okay, well, you take blue, it only leans two ways. You simply add red or you add yellow. Yeah, well, we already know that it all depends what blue you're using, what red you're using, and what yellow you're using, to have it shift properly. So I've got my grid here, and I've wrote phthalo blue over here and ultramarine blue over here. So phthalo blue is a blue that leans towards green. So if we think that if it leans towards green, the only other way it can lean is towards red. Okay, so phthalo blue is a blue that leans towards red. Let me try that again. Phthalo blue is a blue that leans towards green, and the other way it can lean is towards red. So if we think of it this way, we're going to write green. Okay. If we look at the color wheel, it could only go one of two ways. So if we take phthalo blue and try to move it towards violet / red, or move it more towards yellow. So what you're covering is the entire spectrum of the color wheel. Let me get, where is it? Oh. So it's right here. So we're going to go this way, and we're going to go this way. So we're going to only lean two ways, this way and this way. And we automatically think, well, it leans towards green, but really, if you think of the primaries, it leans towards yellow, and you get this as a result. And this, although it leans towards, if you want to try to lean it towards violet, to get that, you really need to go towards the reds, and this is what happens in between. I hope that makes sense. Alrighty, so the best way to do it is just to show you. So we're going to take phthalo blue, and let's just go right over all this here. And we already did, although I forgot to put it out again. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this exercise. You can do it in the form of a color wheel. You can do it as a form of just scales. You'll find a way that works for you. Wipe the excess, load some white, and I'll go right in here. So at least now I see the true underlying color. Mix, mix, mix. Okay, blot the brush. Now, two ways that you can do this. You can take the blue already mixed with white to create your other colors, because that way you won't have to waste time with pure color, then add white. That's kind of the easier way to do it, and it'll save time. I'm going to go with mixing the pure color and then adding white. So if we take phthalo blue and then we go, let's say, with alizarin crimson. So I'm going to go right here, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson. So you're taking a blue that leans towards green and a red that leans towards blue. What are you going to get? Well, right off the bat, it looks like it's going to be black. Then we're going to add our white, blot the excess, and add white. So the red in alizarin crimson neutralizes a little bit of the green that's in the phthalo blue. So if we take that, okay, well, what if we want to shift it even more? Well, let's add a little bit more crimson to the mix. And then I'm going to add white. And you're going to be making notes through all this as well. Now I really see that I've taken a blue that leans towards green, and I've changed it to now it leans towards violet. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So just by using alizarin crimson. Let me just write down phthalo blue and alizarin crimson. Now, if we take phthalo blue and naphthol red light, which is a blue, naphthol red light is a red that leans towards orange. So if we take phthalo blue and take naphthol red light, put that here. I'm going to have to get something dark. Now, phthalo blue is a super powerful color, so it's going to kill a lot of whatever red you put in there. So you get some, oops, I got a little bit of that value there. So it ends up being a nice duller mix. It's a lot duller. Let's add a little bit more white to that. There we go. Okay, if we shift it even more with more red, and add some white. Really looks violet now. Okay, so this is phthalo blue with alizarin crimson, different ranges, different mixtures, balances. This is with naphtha red light. So now if we turn around, oh, how am I going to do this? Let's go down with the yellow. So now we take phthalo blue with Hansa yellow medium, which is a yellow that leans towards orange. Ooh, wow. This is why with the phthalo greens, you really don't need it. Okay, let's add some white to that. So you can see the true underlying color. Okay, so that's a phthalo blue that definitely, well, of course it leans towards green, but it leans, this green leans more towards yellow and not blue. If we really don't want to balance it, like make it more powerful, you know, you can even add more yellow to that, which will brighten it up. It's already pretty intense. And then you can add more white to that. Adding more white automatically dulls it. The only way to get a brighter green than this is to go straight to the phthalo green colors. Anytime you mix two pigments together, you're not going to have something as strong. There you go. So if we took a blue that leans towards green and a yellow that leans towards orange, looks pretty bright, but the orange kind of kills a little bit of the blue part. There's not a lot of orange in the Hansa yellow medium. It's not enough to make that much of a difference. I would have had to have gone to maybe a Paranone orange to really see it. That's going to be covered in another video. But what if we took phthalo blue with Hansa yellow light? Let's get a bit more in there. We end up with more of a teal, turquoise color. So we have a blue that leans, phthalo blue, a blue that leans towards green, and Hansa yellow light, a yellow that leans towards green. What a difference. What a difference. Let me go back and add a little bit more blue to that. Let's shift that. And let's add a little bit of white to that. There we go. Look at that. What a big difference, eh? By taking phthalo blue and just adding either Hansa yellow medium or Hansa yellow light. You get two completely different blues. Greens, blues, greens. Huge difference, eh? Well, what if we took this mix? We were working with adding more yellow to it. What if we added more blue to it? I think do I have to make it more? No. So if I just go right into the green here, and if I just added more of the phthalo blue, still green. Add more blue to it. Still green. Add some white. but it's not as green as the one above it. It's completely dependent on what blues, what yellows, and what reds you use to come up with all these different mixtures. Think of the money you're saving right now. Typically, back in the olden days when I didn't know anything about color, I would have bought, you know, all the colors that I liked, when really all you need is your limited palette. All right, let's do the same exercise with ultramarine blue. Now, this one's going to be interesting. So we're going to do the exact same exercise, and you're going to be able to compare. Actually, let's do it up here. That way we can compare these ones here. I won't have as much to go for mixing. So let's take ultramarine blue. We're going to put that here. I also don't have room for notes. So ultramarine blue and white. So it shows, you know, the blue that leans towards violet, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the same exercise. We're going to take ultramarine blue and we're going to take a little bit of alizarin crimson. So we're taking a blue that leans towards violet and we're adding a red that leans towards violet. I think I should have used individual sheets for this. There's a bit too much water in there too. This is my go-to when I make my violets, which we're going to be covered off in the next series when we do the same exercises with violet. This is my go-to for the violet. Look at that. So phthalo blue and crimson, ultramarine blue with crimson, and these are different colors that you get. Add a bit more white. I better write this down. Okay, so, phthalo blue, and this is ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson. You have to use the video to figure out what colors are where. I should have moved everything over. All right, so now if we take ultramarine blue and naphtha red light, oh, too much water. I don't know if you guys can hear. Mia's having a dream. She's in the other bedroom and she's dreaming. So a blue that leans towards violet and a red that leans towards orange. These are mixes. This is mix here I do not make very often because I don't like it. It's ugly. I'm going to turn this upside down. There you go. A blue that leans towards violet and a red that leans towards orange. And it's ucky dull. And that's because, why? Why does this mix look so dull? So that's a pop quiz for you. Why does the mix of ultramarine blue and naphtha red light look so dull? Compared to even the phthalo blue. I mean, look at the difference. Or this one here, I should say. All right, so now we're going to take the ultramarine blue and the yellow. So I'm going to take ultramarine blue with Hansa yellow medium. So a blue that leans towards violet and a yellow that leans towards orange. This is Hansa yellow medium. And what we end up with is something that's more transparent because ultramarine blue is more of a transparent pigment. A lot of manufacturers will add white to it to go further. Add more white. I prefer, give me the pigment that's strong and I will choose to add white if I want. Now look at that green compared to this one. This is phthalo blue. This is with the ultramarine blue. Okay, so now we're going to take ultramarine blue, blue that leans towards violet, with a yellow that leans towards green. I think I added a bit too much blue in that one. So it's really interesting, completely different types of greens that you can make with this. Really interesting. How the ultramarine blue is really kind of dull. So I wanted you to try to think of the reason why the mixes with ultramarine blue are duller. Why do you think? And that's where it helps going through all the exercises when you go through, how to brighten and dull, learn about what the colors mean, do the value scales. That's what really helps you understand what the colors do. Here we go. All right, so we took phthalo blue, made it with white, ultramarine blue with white, and then we took phthalo blue with naphthol red light, ultramarine blue with naphthol red light, phthalo blue with alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue with alizarin crimson. Then we took phthalo blue with Hansa yellow medium, ultramarine blue with Hansa yellow medium, and ultramarine blue with Hansa yellow light, and then ultramarine blue with Hansa yellow light. Holy crap, Batman, I can't believe I made it through that with that one mistake. But look at all these different colors. They're all different. And typically we would just go to the store and just buy the pigments that we like. But you get all this with your limited palette and white. Isn't that cool? And then you can further shift those a little bit. So if you really like this, but you like this as well, you could take, let's see, a phthalo blue with a little bit of, crimson to get this, and you can add, and you want to shift it to a bit more green, you can add a little bit of yellow. Now you can really go even further with the color mixing. So what I want you to do is I want you to take your 2 blues, 2 reds, and 2 yellows, and I want you to create various mixes like this. I want you to compare the mixes that you get with the phthalo blue and the mixes you get with the ultramarine blue. Okay, so I want you to do this chart where you're shifting your blue more towards violet red, and the other side where you're shifting more towards green yellow. All right, and you've got your pop quiz to answer. That's going to be your exercise, your homework, whatever you want to call it. And depending on where you're watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube, go to the description below, click on one of those 2 links, either to the community or to Facebook, and that's where I'm doing all the support for this series. I'm not doing any engagement on YouTube because you can't post pictures in YouTube. So you go to one of those 2 platforms and you take a picture of what you've done, post a picture, and then ask your question so I can give you an educated answer. Especially with color mixing, if you just post a blind question referring to a chart that you've done, if I don't see your chart you've done, then I don't know. But if you're asking a specific question that's not related to a chart, then yeah, no problem. Alrighty, so that's going to be your homework, and I'm going to clean up and get ready for the next lesson. So until I see you then, stay inspired.